Good evening, Mayor and Council members. The time is 6:59. You are now streaming live over YouTube, and PV30 will count you in at 7 o'clock.
We have PV30 here. Oh, there we are. Good evening and welcome to the October 9th meeting of the Livermore City Council. I now call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrientos.
Present.
Councilmember Branning.
Here.
Councilmember Carling.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kick. Here. Mayor Marchand.
Here. If you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There was no reportable action taken in closed session. Moving on to proclamations and presentations. We are going to confirm the advisory body appointments. This is to the Airport Commission, the Livermore Housing Authority, the Human Services Commission. And this was for Darren Bishop to the Airport Commission, Marvin Evans to the Housing Authority, Carla Welch also to the Housing Authority, the Human Services Commission, Elizabeth McWhorter, Uma Shankar Mehta, and Marty Sutton, as well as Maxwell Nelson and Ashley Onadelli. So if I could call them up and ask the city clerk to.
You got a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I always forget that one. It's
I'll move
something
we
new.
accept.
Okay.
I'll
It's
second.
rising.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Carling, seconded by
I'll second.
Vice Mayor Kick. Roll. So question, do we still need to do roll call? Since we're not on Zoom anymore?
No, no. And for the record, there's no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passed unanimously. All right, thank you. So if any of the folks that are here, if you could call them up and we would have the oath of office. Come on up. You too, Marty.
Yeah, come on, Marty.
Oh, you come on down, please. Come on down. Yeah. We're really informal here. So this doesn't happen very often. So you got to get that. If it's not on film, it didn't exist. Okay.
Raise your hand, repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear through faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Great, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One of the reasons that Livermore is the remarkable community that it is because we have people like you that step up and volunteer your time. So thank you all. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the open forum. I'd like to ask the city clerk to explain the process for participating in tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council's agenda provides opportunities for the public to participate in the meeting by addressing the City Council in the following ways. For non-agendized items, the public has the opportunity during open forum to address the City Council on any item of interest that is within the City Council's subject matter jurisdiction. For agendized items, the public can address the City Council on each item of business it considers when the mayor opens public comment and should be focused on that particular item. Please note, a speaker is not required to answer any questions from the City Council, and the City Council is not required to answer questions from the public. However, the mayor has the discretion to ask staff to address a speaker's comments when a council member believes it is relevant to a particular business item. When participating in tonight's meeting, one comment may be given per person per item. For consent calendar items, one comment may be given for the entire consent calendar. If consent calendar items are pulled for discussion by the City Council, a speaker will be allowed one comment on the items pulled for discussion and a separate comment for the remaining consent calendar. To provide comment, please fill out and turn in a speaker card found at the entrance of the council chamber. Speakers will be announced in the order received. Once public comment opens, each participant's name will be announced, and their 3 minutes will begin once at the lectern. The mayor will announce a conclusion of public comment after comments have been voiced into the record. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, it's 7 after 7 o'clock. So at 7:37, if we still have additional public comment, we will move that to the end of the meeting. So with that, first names.
First speaker is Greg Scott.
Mr. Mayor, Livermore City Council, City of Livermore staff and audience, I am Greg Scott. This is open forum and I have 3 minutes to speak about my experiences and opinions without interruption. Mr. Mayor, in your comments to the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance Anti-Poverty Collaborative event, it was not accurate what you said about me not offering solutions to homelessness. There is no merit in what you stated, Mr. Mayor. The evidence of the record of this Livermore City Council meetings and the independent newspaper mailbox letters to the editors manifest this. I spoke to the Livermore City Council from the second meeting in September of 2017 through the first meeting of March 2020, except for all of 2 meetings at what was then called the Community Forum, and offered repeatedly solutions to homelessness. This is a matter of record and counters your comment, Mr. Mayor, on me not offering solutions to homelessness. In those speeches, I proposed a solution of a commons for homeless. What was the fundamental question I was answering? The question was, where do we expect the homeless to go? In one of those meetings, Mr. Mayor, you rejected that proposed solution. In rejecting the proposal, you acknowledged the proposed solution. That is a matter of record that counters your comments at the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance Anti-Poverty Collaborative event, Mr. Mayor. Back in late 2017, or no later than early 2018 at Livermore City Council, I also proposed a selfish solution to a homeless problem. I was living in my car, as many homeless in Livermore do, and I was getting tired of the cat and mouse game with City of Livermore police at night. One homeless couple I know was tracked by their cell phones by Livermore City Police and relentlessly harassed. My proposed solution was to have a safe parking area for homeless with an available outhouse or access to a bathroom. Later, a church in Hayward came up with and implemented this idea on their own. Even later, the City of Livermore got a grant for $124,000 for a safe parking program. My best proposed solution I gave is a simple solution countering ignorances on homelessness. You all on the City Council, the Human Services Commission, and the City of Livermore Human Services Division know very little about homelessness. I propose a solution to this repeatedly as a matter of record. Give up your roofs, give up your beds, give up your private bathrooms, and come on out. We can do this together and take notes. Let us see who knows more about survivability, being homeless, you all or I. If you are out there long enough, you are probably going to be acquainted with a Livermore homeless person who dies. Then perhaps you can put into your repertoires, as I have, what it's like trying to get a dying homeless person off the ground. A new idea here is that we can do a sleep in or sleep out, as the case may be. What your comment manifests, wittingly or unwittingly, Mr. Mayor, is that you were never listening to me, and you probably are not listening to me now. Not being able to fundamentally analyze the homeless problem is no pathway to its fundamental solution. Where do we expect the migrants in Chicago and New York City in nylon tents to go from?
Mr. Scott, if you would please wind up your
California to join-
comments.
One last paragraph. They are coming to
No.
California to join the 170,000 homeless by count here. From
Please,
my
thank you,
experience,
Mr.
this is what
Scott.
I have witnessed.
Mr.
I have
Scott,
no
thank
business
you.
looking you all and your
Mr.
committee
Scott,
commissioners in the eyes, whether
thank
you
you.
look at me or not, and have the courage to counter the lack of truthfulness.
Mr. Scott,
the
thank you
nonsense,
very
the
much.
games,
You have
expansion
completed
that
your
leaves so
comments.
many unhoused. Thank you.
Mayor and council, for clarity, I apologize that Mr. Scott was the first speaker for open forum and also the first speaker for consent calendar. So he will speak again for 5.10. I know I had that up on the screen, but that was his open forum comment. Next speaker is David McQuiggan.
There appears to be some confusion over the letter that I wrote Chief Young back in November 2020. To clear up any confusion, this is that letter dated November 7th, 2020. I'll remind you that the response had been withheld for 15 months by this point. Chief Young, as you are probably aware, I filed a complaint against the department on January 28th, 2019. Chief Harris responded in a letter dated February 7th, 2019, that I may be contacted during the course of the investigation and that I would be notified of the outcome upon completion of the investigation. I was contacted by the investigator in May 2019. During our discussions, he told me he had approximately 1 week of work to complete. I can appreciate that COVID-19 pandemic has caused a strain on resources. Also, the retirement of Chief Harris has had its impact. But given that it's been over 21 months since I filed my complaint, I would like to think a final determination is forthcoming. David McQuiggan. Okay, now let's play pretend. Let's pretend you're not a lying, corrupt criminal, Johnny. You must have some simple explanation for why you are okay with a police chief that ignores his responsibilities. Would you care to share that explanation? Of course, if you can't explain it, people of Livermore should realize you, Johnny, are responsible for providing the political cover for a police force full of Officer Blacks. You're a lying, corrupt criminal, Johnny, and you will be found out.
The next speaker is Marty Sutton.
Good evening. I'm here as board chair of Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance, and on behalf of Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance, I want to say thank you to the city of Livermore for the attendance at our anti-poverty collaborative event last Thursday. A big thank you to Mayor Marchand and Councilmember Carling for attending. In addition, I want to thank the city manager, Mariana Marshava, for attending, and Livermore staff, Brandon Cardwell, Fran Reisner, Amy Walker, and Shelley Haynes for attending. In addition, we had LVG, Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District board members, Yonara Guzman and Christy Yang also attended. I just want to say thank you, because for you showing up, and especially so many members of city staff, you show that you support our nonprofits and want to find a solution for those that are struggling in poverty. I also want to give you a couple more dates to add to your calendars. On October 26th at 5:30, we'll be hosting our last checks presentation for the year at Common Point. We'll be distributing $39,000 this time to 12 nonprofits. On November 4th, TVNPA with our Livermore Connects partners, La Familia, will host a community celebration at Rincon Library from 1 to 4. And as most of you know, we will be hosting our 3rd annual Power of Giving event on November 8th at the Bankhead. This year, we'll be handing out 6 awards to the nonprofit community that have been nominated by and voted on by community members. I want to thank the Livermore City Council members for taking the time to read the applications for the award nominees and voting on these awards. Our MC will be Dr. Daryl Foster from Las Positas College. Chris Helfrich, CEO of Eat, Learn, Play Foundation, will be our guest speaker. This is Steph Curry's foundation, and Meredith McHenry will perform. The public is all invited to this event on November 8th at the Bankhead. And to learn more about TVNPA and all of our events, please go to tvnpa.org. Thank you.
Next speaker is Donna Caban.
Good evening, council members. Out of the more than 5,000 municipal airports across the nation, Livermore ranks as the 28th worst airport in regard to lead air pollution. Why? Livermore Airport continues to sell only leaded aviation fuel. This practice, along with thousands of takeoffs, landings, and circling planes, continues to poison our air. Many other municipal airports, including Hayward, San Carlos, Watsonville, and Long Beach, sell approved and available unleaded aviation fuels, UL 94 and UL 100. The fixed-based operator at Livermore Airport has completed an application to install a second tank to sell unleaded aviation fuel as an option. So why the delay? The cost of an additional tank would be approximately $200,000, tank plus welding, installation costs, and the funds could come out of the airport budget. There is no need to take funds from the city's general fund. Again, what's holding up the installation of a second fuel tank for unleaded aviation fuel? Lead is one of the worst neurotoxins in our environment, and leaded aviation fuel is the largest source of lead air pollution. In 2021, the EPA made an endangerment finding that lead aviation fuel endangers public health and welfare. On September 8th, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District sent a letter to the City Council stating eliminating lead air pollution from aviation gas should be treated as an urgent public health priority. Lead poisoning from aviation fuel affects children the most. Protect our children from serious harm to their health, including damage to the brain and nervous system, slowed development, hearing and speech problems, and learning disabilities. Our children and Tri-Valley residents deserve better. Do the right thing. Please fast track the portion of the fixed-based operator's application to sell unleaded aviation fuel at the Livermore Airport. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Jean King, followed by John Stein.
Good evening. I want to say that I support what Donna has said, and I will add just a couple of things to it. I hope the city will work to have the Livermore Airport sell unleaded aviation fuel. I have heard that there are elements in the application from Five Rivers Aviation that the unleaded will likely contribute to the noise and the leaded fuel issues. If this is true, could the city explain what in the application will likely contribute to the noise and the leaded fuel issues? I understand that the application includes clean aviation project that would include emission-free electric aircraft, solar-powered hydrogen production, along with a second fuel tank for unleaded fuel, aviation gas. Lead is one of the worst neurotoxins in our environment, and leaded aviation fuel is the largest source of the lead air pollution. Donna told you about the EPA statement that it endangers public health and welfare, and also the Bay Area Quality Management that said that aviation gas should be treated as urgent public health priority. Lead poisoning is dangerous to everyone, but as she said, particularly to young people with their developing brains. Please work to sell unleaded aviation fuel at the Livermore Airport to help reduce the use of leaded fuel at our airport. Thank you.
The final speaker is John Stein.
Good evening. My name is John Stein. I live at 1334 Cathy Court in the city of Livermore. For over 40 years, Livermore has been known as a tree city. I noticed that the temperature downtown now is about 5 or 6 degrees warmer than it is in my front yard. And it'll probably get worse as the build out continues for the other 3,000 or so housing units. With climate change, trees and green spaces becoming increasingly important to moderate temperature increases. The recent drought and winter storms have decimated Livermore's urban forest. We're now approaching the optimum time for planting trees. And a number of trees throughout the city have been removed. There are empty tree wells and dead and dying trees in the right of way throughout the city. The city should begin to replace those trees and also look for opportunities to create spaces for more trees. In the interest of equity, the city may have to actually begin to assume responsibility for street trees again throughout the city. If you look, the areas of low income have much fewer trees than the more prosperous areas of the city. We should look at planting increased numbers of large, long-lived trees throughout the city. We may have to change design guidelines and zoning to create spaces for more trees, increase setbacks, requiring that public and private open space be landscaped, not patios or balconies or rooftops. There is an old Chinese saying, what is the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 20 years ago. What is the second best time to plant a tree? Now. Thank you.
There are no additional speakers, Mayor.
Okay. Quick question. One of the speakers said that only leaded avgas was sold at the airport. Quick question. It's my understanding that the vast majority of the fuel sold at the airport is unleaded Jet A or unleaded jet fuel. Is that correct? The assistant airport manager back there. The last time I checked the fuel logs from the airport, I believe 65% of the fuel was unleaded avgas, and the balance was leaded aviation fuel.
I don't think, Honorable Mayor, I don't think that we have data to respond to your question, but. we can
But
definitely take a
my
look.
point being is we do not sell only leaded fuel at the airport. We also sell a good deal of the unleaded. I just didn't want that. I didn't want that comment to get people said, oh, I heard that on at the council meeting. But as we sell both leaded and unleaded fuel at the airport, and I believe the vast majority is unleaded.
Mayor Marshawn, it's Benny Stuthier, acting airport manager. While I don't actually have the official numbers in front of me, I can get back to you on that. But yes, you are correct. Unleaded fuel is not the only source of fuel sold at the airport. There is Jet A fuel that is
That's what I
unleaded.
thought. Yeah, and a lot of the I said about 65% runoff of that. So okay, well, thank you. I just wanted to make a point. I heard that comment tonight. And I just wanted to make sure that people understood that it is not. We do not only sell leaded fuel. We sell a great deal of unleaded as well. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to close the citizens forum, moving on to the consent calendar. Is there anything that anybody wishes to pull from consent for comment, questions? I just have one question for our the finance manager. 5.9, the OPEB policy. In 2015, this came up to the council, and we revised the OPEB policies. At that time, the unfunded liability for the city of Livermore for the unfunded OPEB liability was over $100 million. Where are we today?
We're just over $29 million.
Okay, so from 100 million unfunded liability, we're now less than 30 million.
Yeah,
So-
and we went from about 14% funded of the liability to almost 60% funded in that period of time.
Okay, so we've made some great progress.
Significant
Okay.
progress. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, being no further comments, is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
Yes, there is, Mayor. For item 5.10, our first speaker is Greg Scott.
Okay.
We're talking about 510. We're talking about investments with public agency retirement system out of Newport Beach and investments with US Bank, which is part of US Bank Corp, the fifth largest institutional bank in the country, and bank investments with Highmark Capital out of San Francisco, which is 75% owned by Mitsubishi Fund. In Ms. Olson's memo, this resolution should not be passed because nowhere in her memo and the staff report does it say the investments can't be in fossil fuels. If you're not going to specifically declare in Ms. Olson's memo that your investments there are not going to be in fossil fuels, you might as well take your Livermore climate action plan and throw it in the trash. It should specifically state in there, no investments in fossil fuel businesses. The second thing that should be specifically stated in Ms. Olson's staff report, it should be declared that no investments should be in so-called cryptocurrencies. So-called cryptocurrencies are not currencies at all. What they are gambling tokens, gambling token assets. So it also doesn't apply investing in so-called cryptocurrencies. It doesn't apply, it is not congruent with the Livermore Climate Action Plan. An example would be a popular so-called cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. Bitcoin does 3 transactions a second globally, 180 transactions a minute globally. What kind of currency is that? In so doing, Bitcoin uses the equivalent amount of electric energy as all of New England, excluding the state of Massachusetts. The amount of emissions is insane. So if you're going to invest in cryptocurrencies, take your climate action plan and throw it in the trash. It's meaningless. So these 2 items, there should be no investments, and it should be specifically stated, no investments in fossil fuels in Ms. Olson's staff report. There should be no investments in cryptocurrencies. Now, what I read in there that the unfunded liability in the information, the unfunded liability was $155 million with the city of Livermore with CalPERS, the California Public Employees Retirement System. It's understandable that the city of Livermore wants to get away from the CalPERS system. It is in big trouble. For the public, CalPERS has $480 billion in assets. It only has 71% of those of its liabilities covered. That means $162 billion of the pension fund liabilities with CalPERS are unfunded. That means over $4,000 for every man, woman, and child in California. CalPERS has unfunded liabilities. Good idea to get away from that.
There are no additional speakers.
Any other speakers? Okay, we're going to close the public comment period on consent. Is there anybody that has any other comments to make or questions on the consent calendar? Councilmember Branning?
I have a question for Ms. Olson. I just wanted to follow up on Mr. Scott's comments. Do we have any policies about fossil fuel investment?
No, we don't. But this particular, the PARS Section 115 Pension Trust Fund, it's similar to if you've got sort of your retirement deferred compensation. You don't pick specific investments, you're picking sort of buckets of investment categories. And so they don't, it's not like they're not investing in specific stocks, in other words. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. But we don't have that specifically in our policy,
Thank you.
but it wouldn't be relevant for this particular.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, is there a motion for the consent calendar?
I'll move approval.
Moved by Vice Mayor Kick. Seconded by Councilmember Carling. Any discussion on the motion? Let's roll call. What the heck? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Barrientos,
Yes.
Councilmember Branning,
Aye.
Councilmember Carling,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kik. Aye. Mayor Marchand.
Okay, we have no public hearings tonight. Moving on to item 7.1. This is regarding the Municipal Services Review Survey administered by the Alameda County LAFCO.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this is your City Manager, Mariana Marasheva. Item 7.1 is going to be presented by Ashley Vera, Senior Planner in the Community Development Department.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Marchand and members of the City Council. Tonight, I will be presenting an update on the Municipal Services Review Survey. In addition, we will be seeking direction on a citywide poll related to open space preservation. State law requires local agency formation commissions, or LAFCOs, to conduct special studies known as municipal service reviews every 5 years. The Municipal Service Reviews, or MSRs, examine future growth and how local agencies are planning for that growth with regards to municipal services and infrastructure systems. The survey was sent to all Alameda County agencies, including the City of Livermore, this past August. Staff responded to the survey in September. As part of the MSR process, each agency can request a sphere of influence amendment. City of Dublin staff informed City of Livermore staff that they submitted a request to amend the sphere of influence in Doolin Canyon to be within the City of Dublin's sphere of influence. The City of Dublin is considering annexing the land for future development, which would conflict with the City of Livermore's general plan, Alameda County's general plan, and Alameda County voter-approved Measure D. In response to Dublin's sphere of influence amendment request, staff requested a sphere of influence amendment to include the same area within the City of Livermore sphere of influence. This request is consistent with the general plan goals and policies to maintain a greenbelt buffer between the cities of Dublin and Livermore. This graphic shows the City of Dublin city limits in yellow and the City of Livermore city limits in pink. The sphere of influence amendment request includes the area shown here in green, known as the Crosby properties. As stated earlier, the sphere of influence amendment request is consistent with the city's general plan and goals to maintain a greenbelt buffer between the two cities. In addition, it is consistent with the general plan goals and policies to preserve open space and agriculture. Specifically, policy P6 shown on this slide states that the city shall maintain an area of non-urbanized land surrounding Livermore to serve as a buffer between the communities. In addition, the sphere of influence amendment request is consistent with the city's North Livermore Urban Growth Boundary Initiative, which limits urbanization and preserves open space, habitat, and agriculture. The City of Livermore's general plan includes the initiative. Finally, the sphere of influence request is consistent with Alameda County's Measure D, which preserves agricultural lands and protects open space, watersheds, and wildlife habitat. Measure D was adopted by Alameda County voters in 2000, setting an urban growth boundary. The Alameda County General Plan and Livermore General Plan land use designation for the Crosby properties is resource management, and they're zoned agriculture. In June 2014, the Dublin City Council adopted the Open Space Initiative, creating an urban growth boundary for the city of Dublin. The initiative is incorporated into the city of Dublin's general plan and states that within 10 years of adoption of the Open Space Initiative, the Dublin City Council shall study commercial development along the Dublin Boulevard extension up to 1,200 feet north of Interstate 580. Per the initiative language, the Dublin City Council may put a measure on the ballot to authorize development in the designated area. In September 2021, Dublin City Council directed Dublin staff to prepare necessary studies as noted in the initiative. City of Dublin staff have informed City of Livermore staff that they have completed the studies. However, the results of the studies have not been made public at this time. The red area shown on this graphic represents the commercial development boundary set by the Open Space Initiative, approximately 1,200 feet north of Interstate 580. Development of this area would be in conflict with the City of Livermore General Plan, Alameda County's General Plan, and Alameda County's Measure D. In addition to discussing the sphere of influence amendment, staff is requesting direction to conduct a citywide poll related to this amendment. The purpose of the poll will be to determine if Livermore residents still support maintaining a greenbelt buffer between the City of Dublin and the City of Livermore, consistent with existing general plan policies. The poll would include email, text message, and telephone response collection. Staff anticipates returning to the City Council with the poll results in November 2023. In closing, staff recommends the City Council receive information regarding the sphere of influence amendment and directs staff to conduct a citywide poll to reaffirm Livermore's interest to preserve open space and scenic corridor qualities along I-580. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Do you have any public comment on 7.1?
Yes, we do, Mayor. First speaker is Donna Caban.
Good evening, City Council members. I support expanding Livermore's sphere of influence to include the Crosby properties north of 580 between the city limits of Livermore and Dublin. Livermore's intent to protect open space, agriculture, and habitat in North Livermore reflects the will of the people and supports the urban growth boundary adopted for North Livermore. I strongly believe the proposed survey of Livermore residents will show protection of open space lands in North Livermore is important. When Pardee Homes tried to break the urban growth boundary for its huge Livermore development, 73% of Livermore residents voted no. The residents of Livermore want to protect the open space surrounding our city. Open space provides visual resources, protects agricultural land and habitat, and provides a buffer between the cities of Livermore and the cities of Pleasanton and Dublin. Residents don't want wall-to-wall sprawl in the valley, the Tri-Valley. Protecting these important resources contribute greatly to our quality of life in Livermore. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jean King, followed by Michael McCorston.
Good evening. Donna and I are definitely on the same page. I am Jean King, and I am speaking for Friends of Livermore. Friends of Livermore supports expanding Livermore's sphere of influence to include the Crosby property north of I-580 between the city limits of Livermore and Dublin. We support the expansion for the city's expressed purpose of protecting open space, agriculture, and biological habitat in North Livermore. We also support the proposed poll of Livermore residents to gauge their support for maintaining protection of open space lands in North Livermore. We are confident that such support remains very high. Friends of Livermore, formed in 2002 after the passage of County Measure D in 2000. Our intent has always been to support the provisions of Measure D in the Livermore area. In August of 2002, we submitted a notice of intent to collect signatures for an initiative to complete the city's urban growth boundary in North Livermore. During the fall of 2002, using only volunteers, we collected 10,000 signatures of Livermore registered voters to qualify the initiative for the ballot. That was 2.5 times the number of signatures needed. 1,000 signatures a week for 10 straight weeks using only volunteers. That strong showing convinced the City Council to adopt the initiative outright in December of 2002. When Pardee Homes tried to break the new UGB in 2005 with a ballot measure to move the UGB northward to allow for its huge Livermore Trails development, the voters of Livermore decisively rejected that attempt. 73% of Livermore voters voted no. We remain convinced that the residents of Livermore want to protect the open space surrounding our city. That open space provides visual beauty and tranquility, protection for agricultural lands and natural habitat, and a buffer between Livermore and the other cities in the Tri-Valley. From wall to wall sprawl. We think that the poll will show strong support for these important values that contribute so much to the high quality of life in Livermore. Thank you. And one of those volunteers was the mayor.
The final speaker is Michael McCorston.
Good evening. Get a different perspective from this side of the chambers. My name is Mike McCorston. I'm the vice mayor for the city of Dublin. I know most of you here tonight. I'm here to read a letter on behalf of our mayor, Melissa Hernandez. Mayor Marchand and the Livermore City Council, as I'm out of town this evening and unable to attend this important discussion, I've asked Vice Mayor McCorston to read my statement into the record. Our two cities have already invested significant financial and staff resources over many years, executing on what the city of Dublin presumed was a shared vision of the Dublin Boulevard Extension project that will be a significant benefit to Tri-Valley residents, with the city of Dublin as the lead agency. Dublin voters have historically made their preferences known at the ballot box for the need to preserve Doolin Canyon, protect wildlife habitats, limit residential development, and reduce traffic gridlock. Dublin's values have also been historically shared by Livermore and unincorporated constituencies. The proposed extension of Dublin Boulevard will advance these objectives and more by improving traffic flow to and from Las Positas College and other services in the North Canyon Parkways area, and providing additional 911 response. As you are aware, this vision simply calls for extending Dublin Boulevard 1.5 miles. The Open Space Initiative asked the City Council to consider limited non-residential development along Dublin Boulevard in order to reduce millions in taxpayer subsidies while protecting and creating more open space, bike lanes, and trails. The City of Dublin's Quality of Life Survey conducted this spring and discussed at an open session Dublin City Council meeting, reaffirmed our residents' support and interest in doing so. I hope your discussion tonight reflects the spirit of working collaboratively and in good faith for the benefit of the residents we both serve. Yours very truly, Dublin Mayor Melissa Hernandez. Thank you, Mayor Marchand and Council, for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
There are no additional comments, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public comment period. Vice Mayor.
I just wanted to clarify, from the letter, it sounded as if we were arguing against a Dublin Boulevard extension. From my understanding, we are talking about including this in our sphere of influence for development of commercial and or residential properties. Would bringing this into our sphere of influence change our previous commitment between the two cities to have a Dublin Boulevard extension?
Vice Mayor, no, our commitment would not change. And I just wanted to clarify, you said that our application for the sphere of influence was for development. Livermore's application is to preserve the area between two cities as open space.
Preserve it from commercial, residential. A road doesn't necessarily count as breaking Measure D, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's just what I wanted to clarify. Seems unclear in the letter that we were arguing against something very different. So I hope that we can do a better job communicating what we're actually talking about.
Councilman Barrientos.
We are in negotiations or talking between cities right now to figure out what we would like to agree upon, right? That's going on right now.
Councilmember Barrientos, the answer to your question is yes. The two cities have been talking, staff from two cities have been talking and will continue talking. We're scheduling additional meetings to see if we can come to a consensus.
Okay. Councilmember Carlin.
So in the mayor's letter, the vice mayor mentioned that the two cities share a vision, I guess a common vision for the Dublin Boulevard. Is that written down somewhere?
Yes, Councilmember Carling, there is a memorandum of understanding that exists that actually has three parties to it, the city of Dublin, the city of Livermore, and the county of Alameda.
So what is that shared vision? Can you, in a few words?
I think the shared vision is to construct the extension of the road from Dublin to Livermore.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Branning.
Thank you. So I have a couple of thoughts on this. So first of all, just to clarify, the action today would be to survey our residents for what they would like and for us to receive this information, nothing more, correct?
That is correct.
So after today, if we do decide to pursue expanding our sphere of influence, it will come back to us with more information, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Then I really want to make sure some things, are very clear. First of all, I want to thank our staff and the efforts that staff has given for reaching out to Dublin and continuing negotiations and working staff to try to make this the best project possible. We received comments from the city manager, from the mayor, via the vice mayor of Dublin, and the comments we received say to me that while we have reached out and spoken with them, the end results is that we're speaking past each other, or in some way the communication is not working well. My ask for our staff is to continue to work with Dublin to find a compromise agreement. I think there is something that we can do with this area that both cities will be very happy with. Since we do have the vice mayor here, I would ask the vice mayor to speak with his staff as well in Dublin staff and make sure that they're on the same page of reaching out, working with our staff to try to find a compromise agreement. It may not look exactly like what we think. It might not look exactly like what Dublin thinks. But I think when we have these conversations and staff to staff really sits down and talks, you'll be able to come to a recommendation, and Dublin staff will come to a recommendation. They'll look the same for both cities instead of two separate visions. And then we can both leave the table 90% happy. So thank you for the work you've been doing so far on this. I hope that we can continue conversations with Dublin, and hopefully by November, when you return, we have something that begins to look like a real unified vision. So thank you.
All right, well, thank you. And thank you for your comments, Vice Mayor. I think that I go back to 2011 with this, when Livermore first applied to expand the sphere of influence. And we took it to LAFCO, and LAFCO said, you guys work it out between the two of you, and it'll all be good. And then I was very heartened in 2014 when Measure T was passed by the citizens of Dublin. And so now we have an opportunity with the most recent MSRs coming back to really have an opportunity to negotiate what this area looks like. We all share a vision about extending Dublin Boulevard to North Canyons Parkway. It seems that there may not be some alignment on what that actually is going to look like. But I hope that we can get together, we can talk, our staffs can get together. I think it's interesting and it's very important that the residents of both cities are heard from. And that's why we're reaching out to our residents, you're reaching out to your residents, see how we can come to agreement. Livermore's interest right now is to expand the sphere of influence to preserve the open space and agricultural areas. And I hope that we can continue that vision to keep that a corridor along 580 of open space. I think that's very important. It speaks to our region. I think it's unusual that cities have an urban growth boundary, but I think it really contributes to our quality of life. Dublin residents voted their urban growth boundary, as did our voters reaffirmed it. So again, I would hope that the staffs can come together, negotiate something that is agreeable to both parties. As Councilmember Branning pointed out, it may not be the same for both of us, but at least we can come to some agreement that we walk away and mostly happy. So with that, thank you very much for your comments tonight, and I look forward to the start of a continued discussion and continued negotiations. So with that, is there any further discussion? Vice Mayor?
I just wanted to restate that I want to be consistent in the values that we've talked about in any information gathering that has been brought to us, that I think more information is better than less. So I think that is consistent with how we deal with lots of projects. So I think it's really appropriate. And just want to reaffirm that we aren't making any actual decision of what happens here tonight. We are asking you to get more information. I also wanted to point out that this is within your signing jurisdiction, your limit, City Manager.
Vice Mayor, I think if you're referring to retaining a consultant
Yes.
for the poll, yes, it is.
Yeah, so I think it just shows that we technically the city staff could have done this. It's within their purview. It's within their job description. It wouldn't have to come past us. But because this is an area that it would affect a lot of our residents, we had the opportunity for the public to speak. So I just wanted to point that out and appreciate the fact that we do understand how important open space is. And thank you for bringing it in front of the public to see.
Okay, with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Kick,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Branning. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? It passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. And I look forward to continuing to work with all of you. Bring it back. See matters initiated and council reports. Go ahead, Councilmember Branning.
All right, thank you. So I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I have a long list of items I attended over the last month. Those are in the supplemental materials package, but I had just a couple of questions for staff. I don't think either of these are matters initiated. First, I just wanted to address the comments about Tree City and the trees. We're currently working, I believe, on a tree inventory and looking at where we can work with trees, basically increase and enhance our tree canopy.
Yes, Councilmember Branning, I was just communicating with our active Public Works Director, Judy Erlinson. The city has concluded a tree survey and started working on an outline of a tree maintenance program, a comprehensive program. And I'm going to get an update from Public Works in the next few days and update the council as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And then to Mr. Scott's earlier comments about fossil fuel, I did not prepare you for this since it is a public comment, but perhaps you can come back with, is it possible for the city to look at disinvestment from fossil fuel and what would that look like?
We can certainly take a look at it and communicate our findings with you through our weekly updates.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all for me today.
Councilmember Carlin.
Yes, thanks. I wanted to first, we had the advisory board appointments earlier today, and I wanted to thank all those people that had applied. We had a number of Councilmember Barrientos and I had the pleasure of interviewing the candidates. We had a number of candidates, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to interview more people than positions open. And I think that's sometimes a good problem to have. It makes it difficult sometimes to make decisions, but nonetheless, it shows that we have people that are interested in serving on our commission. So I certainly encourage those that weren't selected this time to continue looking for those opportunities on our advisory boards and apply as they are interested. The other thing I'd like to speak to for a moment, it's not necessarily a matters, but some thoughts I've had over the last few weeks. On Friday, as Ms. Sutton mentioned, I attended the Bridging the Gap, a symposium hosted by the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance, held at the Bankhead, as she pointed out. There were 3 speakers that served as panelists, and they spoke about poverty and homelessness. And so that's what sort of one point that's been on my mind. Secondly, there's not a day that goes by that I don't read something about homelessness in the newspaper, and there was another on Forum today in KQED. The first hour of Forum was on homelessness. So it's almost every day that I either read or listen to some issue about homelessness. And thirdly, then recently, many of us went to the League of California Cities. And one of the things that I think is different recently at Cal Cities in the large expo area, and the number of folks that are pre-building housing for those that are currently unsheltered. Admittedly, they're not, luxurious or things like that, but they are a more economical way that cities might employ to provide for additional shelters within a community. Anyway, I talked to the city manager today about how we might go about in Livermore, where I think we're doing a fair amount, but I also think we could do better in terms of housing for those that are unsheltered. So several things, and one is, how might we incorporate these other additional housing alternatives, a la the ones that we saw at League of California Cities, within our community? Now, I know that it's not just a simple matter of purchasing a unit and plopping it down on a piece of land. There are much more involved in that, but I would like to at least have some consideration. I think the Human Services Commission might be the right place to have these discussions, but that's one way. One thing is, how could we take advantage of that? Could we take advantage of it? Secondly, the mayor of San Jose has been pretty outspoken in terms of the city of San Jose providing enough shelters for everybody that's not voluntarily homeless. So he makes a pretty big distinction between those that want to remain homeless voluntarily versus the ones that are looking for shelter. He thinks, in the mayor in San Jose, that they have shelter for those people that do want to obtain shelter. The third item that is on my mind is something that was brought up at the Bridging the Gap, and that is guaranteed basic income. There are, the speaker mentioned there are 30 communities throughout the US that provide that. You may think it sounds like, you may consider, wow, that's really expensive, but in terms of the way they counted cities that are participating, it can be relatively inexpensive in terms of just a few people for a limited period of time. So for example, in San Francisco, they were giving, I think, a few $100s a month for women that were pregnant and they that were suffering from homelessness, and I think there were 9 people. So again, that does, I mean, it's important to those women that are pregnant to get the kind of care they needed during pregnancy, but it wasn't a long-term commitment, and 6 of those 9 found housing before their child was born. So that was, seemed to me, a rather modest investment to help people out in a very short period of time. So my point is that guaranteed basic income takes many, many forms. And I guess I'd like, again, for the Human Services Commission maybe to think about that and how we might learn more about that and how it might be effective in Livermore. Anyway, those are the things that have been on my mind, and I hope between staff and the Human Services Commission, you might be able to consider those and how Livermore can show some leadership in these particular areas. I recognize we're doing a lot. Vineyard 2.0 is about ready to open. Some of the churches are talking about additional housing and so on and so forth, but I think we could show some more leadership too, particularly and use our Human Services Commission in a slightly different way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Barrientos. You got nothing. All right.
I missed our meeting along with Councilmember Branning last time. So LAFTA on September 11th and October 2nd. That's all I have that's necessary to report. I will be missing our second meeting this month as well, traveling for work. So I appreciate your ability to make quorum and keep it going for when I have travel, and this is for all of those state people listening. We could make Zoom more easily accessible for people who have full-time jobs. That would be great. I'm sure they heard it and they're gonna just change the laws for me right now. So I will see everybody again in November.
All right. Well, thank you. I reported everything out on the form, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things. September 24th, I attended the Quest Science Center presentation of A Million Miles Away. It was a film. It's a remarkable story of a young man who was a migrant farm worker, picked produce all across California, and he studied very hard, worked very hard, and became an engineer at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Applied himself there, and he applied to to NASA for the astronaut program. He had seen Gene Cernan on the moon flight and was so inspired he was going to be an astronaut. And he applied for the NASA program 11 times, and 11 times he was turned down. And asked, well, what did the have that I don't. So he got his pilot's license. He became a certified scuba diver. He did all these other things. And the 12th time he applied, he actually got accepted into the program, and he was an astronaut. Jose Hernandez, a truly remarkable story of perseverance and homegrown. His portrait is painted on the side of the Common Point building. He's one of the 5 astronauts there, along with Tammy Jernigan, another Lawrence Livermore national scientist and engineer. So remarkable film. If you get a chance to see it, it's called A Million Miles Away. Same day was the 34th annual Altamont Cruiser Car Show. And that's remarkable. It's the biggest show ever. 34 years, there were over 770 classic, vintage and muscle cars there. But the really cool thing about the Altamont Cruisers is they donate the proceeds to local nonprofits. And in those 34 years, they have donated almost $1 million to support the nonprofits in our community. And on Thursday, I spoke at the Bay Area Urban Manufacturers Kickoff, recognizing Manufacturers Week. And what was really cool is the sponsor was SF Made, and their CEO, after hearing the presentation, said, quote, "I keep being inspired by what you and the city of Livermore are doing on the manufacturing front." We have the Advanced Manufacturing Lab at Las Positas College. We've got the Advanced Manufacturing Lab at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and we continue to be doing amazing things here in Livermore. So I just wanted to recognize that. Seeing no further business before the city, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.